Hey guys, my name is Danish and welcome back to my channel, and today we are back at the F1 circus where this is in Abu Dhabi and this is the final race of the season. Let's get excited! Woo! It's gonna be a heck of a week, so let's just get started. So the weekend, you might have already seen all of the drama and all that, but I'll come to that. I'll start off with the weekend with qualifying. It went alright. Verstappen on top somehow, even though FP2 and FP3 were more led by Hamilton. So it was weird to see Max at the start, but he was on the softs, but Hamilton was on the mediums. And that was going to be an interesting battle from the start of the line. And then on lap 1, on race day, where both of them are on equal points, so whoever is ahead of the other wins, unless both are 9th and 10th and one of them has the fastest lap, but that situation was really unlikely. But okay, let's just get started with the race, and the race started and Hamilton led into turn 1. That was really surprising for me. And somehow confusing because Mercedes were on the medium tires and Max was on soft, so Max should have had a better start and led more. But Lewis somehow got a better start and led into the first corner. That was really interesting. And then Max pushed Lewis out into the turn 6. So again, like Brazil, pushed him out wide and Hamilton had to take the runoff. Max made the corner, but Max didn't leave Hamilton any room when they were side by side into the corner. So there was no investigation necessary. I don't really understand if there should have been an investigation, because these are the antics that have been set as a precedent that there's not going to be a penalty for doing this. So I don't know why people were angry that they had to be a precedent for this and Hamilton had to give the place back. Okay, I'm not going to rant on that topic anymore. And then they just continued, and Hamilton really had really good pace instead of Max, and he was pulling away on the mediums. Even though the soft should have given more grip and more lap time, Hamilton was pulling away and making a gap on the mediums. And the first round of pit stops came. Max pit on lap 14 for Hearts. Lewis pitted a lap later and just mirrored the strategy, because that's the best that they can do and they need to do to stay ahead, because they had the pace already. And then they left Perez out in front of Hamilton, and then Perez did a stellar job of holding back Hamilton for 1.5 laps and giving Max the time to close the gap from 7 seconds to 1.5 seconds by the time Perez let Hamilton go ahead. That was a stellar move and drive from Perez. Respectful but really aggressive defense, kind of like what Alonso did to Hamilton when Ocon was winning. That was really great to watch, and he should have deserved the driver of the day just for that 1.5 laps over there. That was really amazing to watch and so much fun to watch. But then he pitted right after he let Hamilton go by, after giving Max a tow. And then we had a normal type of race after this until the next event, which was lap 27, where Kimi stopped on the track and he was going very slowly because his brake locked and he went right into the wall and hit his front nose. He didn't stop the car, he was able to make it move again and slowly went into the pits. Russell on the same lap had engine trouble and he pulled out to the side and he pits and retires the car as well. And then on lap 36, which was the third event of the race, which was Antonio Giovinazzi loses gear shift, so transmission failure, and he parks it at the side of the road. And we had a virtual safety car right here. Max pits under virtual safety car. Hamilton doesn't, because Max was the one in the behind him, so they didn't get enough time to react to that, and Max pitted under the virtual safety car. And then on lap 38, Max was right behind Hamilton and he had about a 16-second gap to Hamilton, and he had 20 laps to make it up, and he had to come up at least nearly a lap faster than Hamilton to overtake him and come close to him. But he was hovering around the 3 tenths, 4 tenths, 5 tenths, sometimes even 6 tenths of a second when Hamilton was lapping cars and all of that blue flag stuff. And that was a bit of an up and down moment, but he was never really consistently hitting the 0.8 seconds to 1 second mark to catch up to Hamilton within those 20 laps. And then we had the final event that broke the camel's back. That was the stellar race of Hamilton. It was Latifi crashing out on lap 56. So I think he was fighting with Yuki and he went out on the dirty part of the track, and when he rejoined and tried to go into the corner, he had dirty tires and they spun and put him into the wall. Now, this brought out the safety car. So, lap 53, safety car came out on the same lap. Now, all of them were behind safety car, and Max pit again behind the safety car for softs. And Lewis, because he was behind the safety car and he was the leader, he couldn't get the same advantage that Max had. And then it took about 3 or 4 laps to get the Williams out of the track and the Marshalls out of the way to allow racing. And on lap 56, Perez also retires his car. I don't know why, but they retired his car. And then they started getting hectic. So here is what the range of events happened. So on lap 56, there was a message that lapped cars will not be allowed to unlap themselves. Okay, fair enough. And then another message flashed up that lap cars will be allowed to unlap themselves, but only the specific 5 cars that were behind between Lewis and Max. Okay, that was weird, because what happened to the other lap cars? Because there were a couple of lap cars between Max and Sainz, who was in P3, and then I think there was another one between Sainz and Yuki, and then behind him was Bottas, who was also on the lead lap. Confusing. But as soon as the 5 lap cars were allowed to leave, it was green flags and the safety car was going into the pits, and Hamilton and Max was head to head going into the final few corners, where Hamilton was a de facto safety car line and he maintained the pace and he defined the speed that they would go until he was full throttle and into green flag racing. So Max was really edging and Max was on fresh soft tires. Lewis was on 40 lap old hards. 40 laps? Yeah, 40 laps. So you see where this is going. It took Max about 4 turns to get into the lead after turn 1. And this is the last lap now. So they just raced for 1 full lap and Max got the lead of the race and won the race and won the championship. The thing was, this soured many people, because I know this is some you won't like what I'm saying here, or my opinion won't matter, but the thing with the allowing a few cars and not all cars, and then not letting them time to go back and join the rear of the grid, because there were a few articles and few things that were mentioned from the fights, the 39.12, where all the lap cars had to be allowed to leave and all of that, different wordings. And the kicker here was Max won. I understand that. Lewis was understandably disappointed. I am a Lewis fan, but I was accepting that if Max won the championship fair and square, I had no qualms with that. He had a good season. They had their fights, but both of them were fighting and well above the championship contenders who were right behind them, because all of the time the leaders would be half a second to a long duration between P1, P2 and the third position podium. So that was evident that these two were fighting at a different league altogether. Basically, like, these two were in F1 and the rest were in F1.2 or F1.4 or whatever we had in the previous seasons, the classifications that we had, different drivers. Okay, sidetracking here. Okay, so the problem here was Mercedes felt wronged, because they were under the impression that safety car would probably go to the end of the race, because the lap cars had to be unlapped themselves, and most of it would take they were like 5 laps before the end of the race, and the crash would at least take 2 to 3 laps to get rid of the Williams wreckage. So that also made them make a different call and not pit Hamilton, because they didn't think there would be a race at the end. And yeah, they were just screaming. Toto was screaming into the mic to Massey. Horner was screaming into the mic. They just wanted 1 lap, and Toto was like, no, let's just go on the safety car. Yeah, Max won. It was exciting for the Dutch army, but there was this clause behind it that there were potentially rules broken by the FIA/Michael Massey, the race director. So what do I think about all of this story? So the thing with this is, I don't know if there were any technical regulations broken, because there was another regulation that the race director had complete and utmost control over the safety car, and he could deploy it and remove it at his discretion and control the safety car. But I think there were integrity rules broken, because if you are letting the 2 drivers race, okay, I understand, but P3 was also a podium. Is he not counted as a front runner or a leader? What about Yuki in P4 or Bottas in P5? Or at least with each other, even though they cannot compete with Lewis and Max, they can at least compete with each other for P3. But that was not the case, because they had lap cars in the middle, and people will say they could have just used the blue flags and unlapped those cars and got into racing, but they don't have the same advantage that Max does. Max was already right next to Lewis's rear tires, and he was really sitting behind his rear wing. These people don't have that advantage. They have to fight, or at least make the lap cars yield immediately and then they accelerate, but still that's a lot of time they're losing, because it's a lap. They don't get too many chances to overtake over a single lap. So there was going to be a protest, and there was a protest. there were two protests actually. Protest one was for the lap cars and the safety car control, because Mercedes argued that the rule says the safety car will come into the next lap, not the running lap. And also for the second thing that Max overtook Lewis behind the safety car, what was a bit of a jockeying. I knew that would be thrown out or just get a slap on the wrist, but the main one was the safety car thing that was not happening. And it took a long time for the FIA and them. They had meetings, and I waited till 1 a.m. literally to see what the FIA spoke about it and what were the results. And they said they're dismissing it. And if you want to go check out the whole report, you can go check it out on Reddit or F1. You can read the whole thing and all of the comments and all of the backlash on Twitter and Instagram and Reddit and everywhere. And yeah, it was a big show. I'm gonna beep that out, don't worry. But yeah, now Mercedes already have put in their message that they are going to appeal this decision. They are not gonna let this go, because this is not just a thing of one race event that happened, because this is the championship on the line, and giving Massey that much power of discretion, that basically he used his power of discretion to discreetly allow only Lewis and Max to fight and not the rest. That's the point to think about. Hey, if there was no drama and Lewis and Max fought and Max came out ahead fairly, not like Brazil, I would have been happy to see Max as champion because he had a great year. But that wasn't the case. This whole thing is stained by the drama and the FIA being that tried to have green racing at the end of the race but not allow everybody to have a fair race at the end, because allowing only two and not the rest. That's a whole mess, and Mercedes is going to appeal this. It's going to be an interesting thing to watch. If they don't get their way over there, they'll probably take it to court, the FIA Sporting Court in Paris. That is also going to take a long time and probably going into next year, even before the next year starts. That's going to be a fun off-season. At least we have something to look for and something to dig into and follow. And the F5 gang has been going crazy for the last month or so, from all of these away races to from Brazil. Everything has been hectic and everybody has been rechecking Reddit, rechecking Twitter for any news updates, and it was an interesting time where all of the new viewers who came from Drive to Survive and watching the Schumacher documentary, Senna documentary, and getting into F1. I know a friend who watched a TV show which had F1 mentioned in it, and she got into F1 and she has a crush on Dan Ricciardo. Sorry for outing you out, but you know who you are, and it's okay. That's the enjoyment and the fun of watching F1, but the thing that happened here on the last lap was just confusing and disappointing, and puts just an asterisk next to the championship that Max won, because he was given favorable treatment from Massey. Because whatever Massey did, either he had a few options, because a person on Reddit said this and summed it up pretty quickly and nicely. Was he had three options. He could red flag the session and give 4 laps of racing for everybody on same tire. Everybody would change for softs and have an all-out race for the last 4 laps. That's a good option. Number 2, keep the safety car until the end and stop under the safety car, because Max was in no position to fight Lewis when it was green condition throughout the race. Lewis showed his dominance and his pace this race, and it was a race that Lewis should have won. And third option was let no one unlap themselves and have racing with them moving off the way and doing it normally. All of these had their disadvantages and advantages, and people are talking now that stripping Max away for the championship from him is going to be painful and not right. But the thing is, Max did nothing wrong here. He followed what his team ordered him. They had a good strategy and he was given an opportunity to race. Lewis did nothing wrong here, because the team wanted track control and track position, and they had it all and it was working for them. And either way, it was going to be these two who were winning the title. But the thing that irked was, it was basically Massey behind the safety car had to choose to give one or the other driver the championship. That's a tough place to be, but an even tougher place to defend if you choose one or the other side. And the comment that he made at the end to Toto was, "This is car racing. Why? Why dig yourself a hole like that? Come on." So yeah, those are my observations about all of the controversy going on. And people who are not in F1 came and spoke to me about all of the things that are happening on Reddit, and people screaming on Reddit about all of this, which I was really happy to see people engaging into F1. But this race was not the best way to introduce new people to F1, if that makes sense. So what do you think about the race ending that happened? Comment down below about who should have won the race and who should have won the championship, and let's have a conversation over there. Let's keep it civil, everybody. No swearing. And as always, if you like this video, give this video a like. Get subscribed to my channel for more of my fun content. I'm going to have a annual recap for the whole season coming up soon. Follow me on my social media channels for fun content that I put over there as well. And as always, stay home, stay safe. I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Peace.